So dividing a decimal by a whole number, that's the first part. So 4 is your whole number, example, and you're dividing by 0.8. So we'll look at the rules again here. In this case, move the decimal point in the divisor to the right until the divisor is a whole number. Yeah, remember, we cannot divide by a decimal number. So you have to turn the decimal number, in other words, the divisor, into a whole number. And the way you can do that is if you have one digit here, can you see that? If you have one digit after a decimal point, you multiply by 10. In other words, you move one place to the right. If you have two digits, you move two places to the right. In other words, you're multiplying by 100. If you have three digits, then you multiply by 1,000, three places to the right. So you move three places to the right. And this is something you will be able to understand with a little bit more practice. And that's your step number 1. Your step number 2, move the decimal point in the dividend to the right, the same number of places as the decimal point was moved in step 1. So what we are saying is we must have an equivalent fraction. So if you're multiplying the divisor by 10, you must make sure that you multiply the dividend, the number you're dividing, by 10 as well. Whatever you do with the divisor, you do the same with the dividend. If you multiply the divisor by 10, you must multiply the dividend by 10 to create equivalent fraction. So that's also important. And your third step is to divide, as you would normally do, divide. And this second part is you place the decimal point in the quotient directly over the decimal point in the dividend. And this will become quite evident once I show you a couple of examples. Another example. So there you are, and this is the first look at this example, which is 4 divided by 0.8. Now, so there is 4, there are 4, and this is 0.8. Now, as I said before, you cannot divide by a decimal. So you have to turn that 0.8 to 8. Now, how do you do that? You have to move one place to the right, which means you multiply by 10 to make it a whole number. And whatever you do with this, so you're multiplying the divisor by 10, you must multiply the dividend by 10, and that gives you 40 now here. So let's show you in a simple way. You had a 4 and you were dividing, this line means divide by the way. You have a 4 and you're dividing by 0.8. So you're multiplying by 10. You're multiplying the divisor by 10 because you want to turn that into a whole number, but you also have to multiply the dividend by 10. And you end up getting 40 divided by 8, right, which is a 5. Now let's show you the last step where it says put the point over the point, and this is what it means. And as you can see, so 8 goes 5 times into 40, and this is the point that we're talking about. Notice the position of the decimal points. So this decimal point in the dividend and the decimal point in the quotient are aligned properly. Can you see that?